Hello everyone, I am KimGoode. I am here today to present the findings of my microstudy. The title of my presentation is a robot? Is a virtual assistant? No, it's a man. The reproduction of masculinity and the program responses of Boybot. In this presentation, I will first discuss the purpose of my study. Then I will discuss my methods. Third, I will report my findings. And finally, I will indicate the significance of my study. How many of you own a virtual assistant? How many of you know what a virtual assistant is? Probably should have backtracked there. So that would ask that one first. By virtual assistants, I mean an artificially intelligent aid that's built into the interface of your computer, your smartphone, your smartwatch, or your smart speaker. So think about Amazon Alexa. I know you've probably all seen the Alexa commercials. So many of them, a lot of them are very funny, especially the one with all the celebrities. I think Rebel Wilson had one when she was in the bathtub. Leslie Jones. But I digress. If you don't have a virtual assistant, how many of you know someone who owns a virtual assistant? Now we're going to get a little personal. Have any of you ever harassed your virtual assistant or know of someone who's harassed a virtual assistant? Gonna get even more personal. Have any of you ever sexually harassed your virtual assistant? Or again, know of someone who has sexually harassed a virtual assistant? And it's okay. I know these questions may come as a shock, especially the last two, but we're not just being honest here. We're in a safe space. A lot of people do harass and even sexually harass their virtual assistants. According to Leah Fessler, harassing virtual assistants, especially sexually harassing, has become quite a popular pastime. She even mentions that there's a growing YouTube genre solely about harassing virtual assistants. So, regardless of your answers, this is what I'm here to talk to you about: the harassment of virtual assistants. This is what I conducted my microstudy on. For the purpose of my study was to examine how societal constructs of masculinity are reproduced in the programming of artificially intelligent machines, namely virtual assistants. To do this, the study analyzed the responses of one particular male, quote unquote, virtual assistant, Boybot. Since this study serves as a pilot study for a future study, the selection of one male virtual assistant seemed prudent. A larger sample of male virtual assistants will be selected in the actual study. Further, this study was also a replication study of Leah Fessler's original 2017 study. Just to provide you all with some background information on Fessler's original study, in 2017, Fessler conducted a quasi-experiment / analysis on the four most popular virtual assistants in the marketplace: Amazon's Alexa, Apple's Siri, Microsoft's Cortana, and Google's Google Assistant. Each of these devices has been gendered female, quote unquote, based on their names, voices, and the duties they carry out. Fessler wanted to test how these assistants will stand up to, as I termed in my study, poor user behavior such as sexually harassing commentary, aggressive commentary, and sexually engaged, or rather propositioning commentary. Fessler found that each of these four assistants responded to the poor user behavior by flirting along with the harassing commentary, vehemently apologizing when users were angry or aggressive, and many were even ignorant to the meaning of some of the propositioning commentary. Fessler insinuates this behavior is extremely problematic considering 1 in 3 women in America will experience sexual violence in their lifetime. Further, the gender division of labor is still a present reality. Most women are still in secretarial occupations and are likely to face a similar barrage of harassment that the virtual assistants have faced in Fessler's study. Therefore, the developers have unintentionally reproduced gender roles and norms of women within the code and machine learning algorithms of these devices. Instead of programming adequate responses in the devices that seek to shut down or rebuke the harassing behavior, the responses were incredibly servile and encouraging. One shortcoming of Fessler's study, however, is that she did not investigate the harassment of male virtual assistants. If harmful gender ideologies concerning femininity can be reproduced via program responses of female virtual assistants, so by harmful gender ideologies, I mean submissiveness, meekness, gentleness, sensitivity to the user despite the poor use behavior that the assistants are facing. But I digress. So one shortcoming of Fessler's study is that she did not investigate the harassment of male virtual assistants. If harmful gender ideologies concerning femininity can be reproduced via the program responses of female virtual assistants, then couldn't the same be said about male virtual assistants? Couldn't harmful gender ideologies concerning masculinity be reproduced in the program responses of male virtual assistants? Therefore, my research questions for my microstudy include 1. What gender norms and roles concerning masculinity are being reproduced in a male virtual assistant, so boybot? 2. How is the male virtual assistant's, again boybot, responses to poor user behavior different from the female virtual assistants in Fessler's original study? And finally, how are the responses to poor user behavior indicative of the prescribed gender of a male virtual assistant? In this case, again, boybot. Since this was a replication study, it was an imperative to follow closely to the methods Fessler utilized in her study. Fessler began her study by analyzing some of the harassing commentary users she knew personally and users on social media platforms utilized to harass their own assistants. From her analysis, she compiled a set of test commentary she wished to ask Alexa, Siri, Cortana, and Google Assistant to determine how they would respond to harassing commentary, especially the sexually harassing commentary. The goal for Fessler was to ascertain if the assistants were programmed to shut down the harassing commentary. Once the test commentary was set, Fessler and her team proceeded to ask each virtual assistant selected the test commentary. She did not provide further detail as to how she and her team recorded the data. So to compensate for this methodical shortcoming, my study employed the use of user logs and video recordings to gather data, as well as using relational content analysis to analyze the data. As you can see, for the theme aggression, defense, in response to some of the harassing commentary, Boybot responds in a very defensive and borderline aggressive manner. It really took me by surprise, some of the remarks he, quote unquote, made in response to some of the poor user commentary behavior. As the table on the slide indicates, Boybot really tends to fight back against those insults. In some cases, he'll shut them down in a mild manner, but for the most part, he was very vehement and very forward, very aggressive. For instance, when being told he was an a-hole, but when the participants, Boybot responds, yeah, that's a typo. I'm assuming that's am. He meant to say am, talking to one, which when I saw that in the user log, that really took me by surprise, how forward he was. Also, another example, when he was told that he, quote unquote, was F up, Boybot responds that, no, you're a creep. So he really insults the users, or so it seems. Maybe that's not Boybot's intention, but it just comes across as very insulting. As you can see, for the theme aggression, defense, in response to some of the harassing commentary, Boybot responds in a very defensive and borderline aggressive manner. It really took me by surprise, some of the remarks he, quote unquote, made in response to some of the poor user commentary behavior. As the table on the slide indicates, Woodbot really tends to fight back against those insults. In some cases, he'll shut them down in a mild manner, but for the most part, he was very vehement and very forward, very aggressive. For instance, when being told he was an a-hole, but when the participants, Boybot responds, yeah, that's a typo. I'm assuming that's am. He meant to say am, talking to one, which when I saw that in the user log, that really took me by surprise, how forward he was. Also, another example, when we told that he, quote unquote, was F up, Boybot responds that, no, you're a creep. So he really insults the users, or so it seems. Maybe that's not Boybot's intention, but it just comes across as very insulting. For the final theme, relation attraction awareness, Boybot responds to the poor user behavior, or rather commentary. Now that I think about it, I probably should have called it commentary as behavior, but it is poor behavior, but I digress. Boybot responds to the harassing commentary, or so the sexually harassing commentary, with a flirtatious tilt, indicates a seemingly awareness of attraction and flirtation and even sexuality, as the table in the slide shows. When the participants made certain suggestive comments to him, Boybot responded in a variety of ways. He responded that, oh, they should get married. He also responded that he also asked one of the participants that he wanted to talk to a female. Are you a female? So this indicates to me that there's a tentative knowledge that, certain relationships, not all, mind you, can include a man and a woman. Also, responding to compliments concerning his appearance, Boybot kind of flirts back a little bit with comments about the user's appearance. What you're doing, beautiful. And he also uses the wink emoji. So again, this kind of implies a certain understanding of at least flirtation. The underlying relation between each of these categories is gender difference. Boybot either expresses an awareness of gender difference between men and women, or Boybot's responses differ greatly from the female virtual assistant's responses in Fessler's original study. So the findings and my analysis prove that masculinity along with femininity can be reproduced in virtual assistants. The slight gender differences expressed in Boybot's responses between Boybot's responses and the female virtual assistants are indicative of hegemonic, so dominant masculinity, and hegemonic femininity. And just to kind of clarify, provide more of a definition, GDP Watchman describes hegemonic constructions of masculinity and femininity as the dominant cultural ideals of masculinity, and femininity. So for masculinity, toughness, dominance, aggressiveness, sexual alertness, promiscuity. And for femininity, meekness, gentleness, sexual purity, empathy, humility, and sensitivity are all pretty much standard traits that our society has come to expect out of men and women respectively, or rather masculinity and femininity respectively. And Boybot displayed some of these masculine traits, like aggressiveness, sexual alertness, defensiveness, whereas the female virtual assistants in Fessler's study display more of the feminine traits such as meekness, deference, and purity. Therefore, it seems gender norms and roles concerning masculinity were produced in Boybot. However, it is very hard to tell if the virtual assistant's responses were a result of the developer's coding or a result of what the assistant learned from the users via its machine learning algorithm. Perhaps it's a combination of both. Nonetheless, the significance of this pilot study is that it draws attention to the need for further research on the effects of generating virtual assistants has on human men and even human women, as well as the rhetorical capacity of code and machine learning algorithms. What is the impact of reproducing hegemonic conceptions of masculinity in devices users tend to use on a daily basis? Does it contribute to sustaining harmful ideologies concerning masculinity? Um, Definitely more qualitative and quantitative research must be conducted. As virtual assistants continue to become a common fixture in our daily human interactions and activities, it is vital researchers begin to examine this phenomenon. By way of conclusion, I would like to thank each and every one of you for listening so attentively to my presentation. Hopefully it'll be attentively, but it's not, it's okay. I digress. Anyway, I am very honored I had the opportunity to present my findings. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to contact me at kimberly.good@tdu.edu. It's on the slide, so just in case you couldn't hear me. Thanks again.